Welcome to the Collective Awakening podcast with Chris and Stephen of the Purple Mountain Spiritual and Wellbeing Centre, connecting with like-minded souls and rediscovering ourselves in this time of conscious awakening. Hello, friend. Welcome to the Collective Awakening podcast with Chris and Stephen, and our wonderful guest for this episode, Sabine Kruse. Absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm very delighted to be here with you as well. Thank you. And with everybody on the Collective Awakening podcast.
And we're really excited about this episode. Sabine is the author of the book, Activate Your Highest Potential with Sacred Geometry, a practical guide to freedom, authenticity, and fulfillment. Doesn't that sound wonderful? And we're really looking forward to this episode in which we'll be talking all things sacred geometry. And unpicking that. But really, before we begin, I'm going to hand over to Stephen, because our connection to Sabine started with Stephen receiving a gift of her book.
It was absolutely amazing, because it's interesting how synchronicities work, how alignment works on an unconscious level when not thinking about things. And I work with lots of clients, and there's a client that I was working with called Janet, which obviously knows Sabine very well, and I was very busy, very interested in geometry about 6 to 9 months ago, and I was very drawn to different symbols, and I didn't really understand it. And then suddenly I had this parcel that arrived at my door with a lovely little card that said, "Stephen, I don't know why, I might be a bit psychic, but I want to pass you on this book." And I was like, wow, this is really weird. And I was only thinking about geometry and signs, and really wanted to delve a little bit deeper into it. And I said to Chris, I've been reading this book. This is amazing. This is really simple to understand, and it's really powerful. We must get this lady, this beautiful soul, on the podcast, because what triggered me was actually when Sabine talked in her book about Thoth. And I know it's something that, Chris, you're very connected to, the energies of Thoth that you've connected with for quite a while. And I thought, wow, the signs are here. So I messaged Janet and she said, leave it with me. I'm going to email her. And it was that connection. It was that simple, and it was beautiful. And then Chris had a little chat with Sabine before, and that's the connection, Chris.
Yeah, so it's amazing how these things come about, and we were able to connect and have a little chat, a pre-chat before we recorded this episode. And really, Sabine, as we start, I feel a really good place to start would be a little bit about your journey to this book and receiving this wonderful information, these channelings, and how that came about.
Yes, and I'd like to say thank you, Janet. That was a great gesture.
Yes. A big thank you from all of us.
So I grew up in Germany in the 70s and 80s, and I've always wondered how we can actually contribute to creating like a beautiful world, a peaceful, abundant, and free world. And so I studied economics, thinking of, that could be a contribution to abundance for everybody, for all. And studied in Germany and in London, in England. And then I went into the world of development cooperation. So I worked on projects in developing countries such as Latin America and Africa, in order to be of service and to see like a wonderful, beautiful, abundant world. But I came to realize that you cannot change the world from the outside. It's really an inner job. And so when I finally understood that, I embarked on a journey of self-awareness, doing a lot of coaching programs, spiritual programs, workshops, energy work, all kinds of things, exploring, also my inner realms, my soul. And so like 5 years into that self-awareness journey, I suddenly in meditations received information about sacred geometry. And I have to say, I had not been in touch with sacred geometry before. It was nothing like that was stored in my mind from what I'd read or heard. Nothing like that. So it must have come, and I knew immediately it must come from other realms because it's not in my mind. I hadn't studied sacred geometry before. So when I received especially information on how you can actually use sacred geometry shapes and forms energetically, how you can use it to change the underlying energetics of your everyday experience. And it started almost like having sessions on a weekly basis where we would discuss, me with my guides, mentors from other realms, where we would discuss, like for example, the first one we discussed was the octahedron. This is an octahedron, two pyramids that are connected at the square base. And so we would go into, so what are the energetic properties of, in this case, an octahedron? And how can you use it, like, for example, to clear mental limitations, to bring in clarity and focus and mental balance. And then I would always have an experience as well, to actually experience the energies of, in this case, the octahedron. And so I've always been curious. So I was like, okay, let's follow the breadcrumbs. Let's have our sessions. And so first they came in German because I'm German. And after a while, they came through in English. And I was like, that's weird. And so I started recording my sessions and my experiences. And step by step, I tried it out with friends, family, and then also with clients. And step by step, but it was a process. I mean, this book took shape. And pretty early in that process, Thoth appeared in a meditation, in a session I did with a friend, and showing me more about sacred geometry, and also saying like that he would be the main mentor for this book. I mean, I would receive information, guidance, intuition from Thoth, also from other beings like Isis, for example, especially as far as the Ankh is concerned. I'm wearing one here. The key of life. But generally speaking, the overall mentor was Thoth. And I was like, okay, let's go with it, experiment, use it. And by the end of 2022, I thought like, okay, now this book has to come out. I've got enough material. I've went through a self-editing. Now give it over to an editor and have it published. And so it was published on the 8th of August, 2023 in English, and a year later in Spanish.
Wow, absolutely amazing story. And do you still continue having that strong connection with Thoth even today with those downloads and that information that you're receiving?
Yes, but it's more like diverse. So I mean, all kinds. Like for the second book, I'm writing now a second book about embody your highest potential with sacred geometry. So the first one was the activation, and now it's about the embodiment. And that's more like where the angelic realms come in much stronger. Like, for example, the Elohim and as guidance, and also some like female mentors, because it's all about the feminine sacred geometry shapes and forms and circles and spirals and columns and all that. So, but Thoth is still there because I feel like he is also very helpful if you want to communicate in writing. He's a good mentor for that, the scribe, basically, that supports you with bringing things out in writing. But it's more diverse at the moment than it used to be for the first book.
It's interesting how there is a strong ancient Egyptian influence there, isn't it? I feel that just talking. I think that's why I resonate with you so strong, because I sense that really strong even with a lot of my work with the Egyptian, and how those ancient teachings and how they're sort of coming in very much in the forefront now more than ever before. They're very much needed now, aren't they, for this, call it, collective awakening, where the geometric shapes can activate and help us in our transformation.
Yes, it's definitely, I feel that strong connection to ancient Egypt as well, to the pyramids. I love pyramids, and I don't know, in Egypt, in Mexico, in South America. I've visited so many pyramids in Bosnia as well. And there is this connection to the experiences humanity had in ancient Egypt. And also I felt called to go to Egypt in 2023 after I published the book. And yeah, definitely, you're right, Stephen. I feel that connection too.
Wow. So just going a little bit deeper on, for our listeners, is a little bit what geometry is in a sort of a nutshell. What is it? Because you talk quite a bit in the book, particularly in the beginning, without people realizing geometry is all around us. Even the houses we build, our ancient temples, subconsciously that's within us. Nature is a great representation, and the cosmic and universal energies as well. So what is geometry, and what impact does that have us on a cellular level, on a mental, spiritual level?
Yes, thank you for that question. So geometry as a word, I mean, it's actually two Greek words that mean measuring earth. And the sacred part of the geometry is that sacred geometry follows divine proportions and directions, and it's like all encompassing as well, and fractal in nature. So fractal means like, so basically the same thing is contained in everything, but in different sizes or scales. And if you look at nature, if you look at the cosmos, even if you look at our bodies, we all carry sacred geometry in us. So it's basically the underlying structure of reality. Or I love to say as well, I mean, sacred geometry helps to put infinity into form. And so like one important number or ratio in sacred geometry is phi, and phi, the golden ratio, which is a certain infinite number, 1.618, and so on. And it's derived by, so if you have a line with two segments, a longer segment and a shorter segment, and if you divide the longer segment by the shorter segment, if that is 1.618 and so on, this is called the golden ratio. And this ratio, you find it everywhere in our body, in nature, in the cosmos. Like, for example, in your finger, if you divide this part by this part, or this by this, it's almost like approximately 1.618. We're not completely symmetrical, but it's like, and it's a proportion for beauty as well. If somebody, like if a face contains these proportions, or like a body, then it's considered beautiful as well. And I don't want to go into all the details of the mathematics, because I mean, you can find that in my book. You can find it in a free sacred geometry talk I did. But it's like there is an underlying Fibonacci sequence to the golden ratio, which then, if you combine the numbers, comes up with a spiral, a golden ratio spiral. And this spiral is everywhere in nature, in the cosmos as well. It's like a fern, like is wrapped up like in a golden ratio spiral. A hurricane or a galaxy has got this spiral as well.
And our DNA is like that as well, isn't it? Is our DNA the same?
Exactly, or like our inner ear. So I mean, it's basically it's the underlying foundation of nature, cosmos, and our bodies as well, basically of all life. And and so there is, and it's also, so that's one thing, and that's why also you find, like, even in ancient civilizations, you've got depictions of the flower of life all over the world, in Egypt, in China, in Germany, in Turkey, in all these countries, and even ancient depictions, because people knew about the importance of sacred geometry in these certain shapes and forms for the fabric of reality. Yeah, so that is geometry. And the interesting thing with geometry is, of course, there are different shapes and forms. You have, like, for example, a tetrahedron, you have a pyramid, you have the flower of life. Got it here somewhere. You've got all kinds of shapes and forms, and they all carry different frequencies. And that's exactly, I mean, lots of people talk about the architecture and the mathematical properties of sacred geometry, but what came through for this book, through me, is really the energetic properties. Like a cube has a different frequencies, holds different frequencies, and has different energetic uses than a sphere, for example. And they all serve their purposes. And that's the wonderful thing, is that's how you can actually work with them as well. No? Like, for example, if you want to go back to emotional balance, you would work with a shape like the icosahedron that would help you get back into emotional balance. And so that makes it tangible and brings it back to daily application for us.
What I loved about your book, actually, when I was reading it, is the authentic side of experience. Because sometimes people do a lot of research, and they're really, it's a lot of it is parroted because they've learned this through books, but this, it comes through a lot of personal experience and lots of really powerful techniques. And it's interesting, me and Chris, we run a home circle, and last week I took some of these teachings and we started to look at the 0 point. And again, what's really interesting is about personal experience. Don't just listen to us. Use these shapes, experiment with them, feel them, open yourself up to how powerful and how they complement. If you do feel that you've got a block or you feel that you're stuck, use some of these geometric shapes to help you. And we predominantly last year, we worked a lot about copper pyramids and how, the base, you talked about the base being the amplifier and the activation holder of energy. And as a group, there was 10 of us. We really, didn't we, Chris? We really felt the power just by consciously connecting with that shape and the sphere of the power of the sphere as well. You think, it's just mind-blowing stuff.
What I found really interesting as well, that the in different areas of the work, it can often start at the same point. When I was reading your bio, and it sort of starts from a place of what part can we do to sort of assist the world in this time we're living in, and in coming back to knowing ourselves. So I know there's been a few examples given, and I've got lots of questions about specific shapes. I really have. But how do you feel? Because we've talked a little bit about, when you mentioned Thoth and Isis and our ancestors in many ways, and how can this link us together to help us in our remembrance in this time we're living in now? As you've said, these geometric shapes are deep rooted within us and also in our past as well, helping us to resurface almost that lost knowledge.
Do you know, in general, what I love about sacred geometry is really that you talked in your last podcast with Kathy Skipper, was her name, huh?
Yeah.
About shadows and the subconscious and all. I found that very interesting, because there's so much information and programming and conditioning stored in our subconscious. And the great thing about the sacred geometry is that it actually surpasses any filters your minds might have and goes directly into the subconscious, and whatever there is that limits you, be it from ancestral programming, be it from societal programming, or your own limitations, it uninhibitedly goes into the subconscious mind, and then it clears everything that is not authentically you, or the conditioning, the programming from society, ancestors, religion, whatever, and takes you back to who you truly are, to your true self, to home. And that's the powerful thing about sacred geometry. And on the one hand, it can clear limitations that you have from ancestors, but it can also connect you to gifts from your ancestors or like memories from ancient cultures, the inner wisdom becomes available when you work with sacred geometry. And so there is a connection between like what ancient civilizations have known before, but there's also this, what is not authentically us can actually be transformed because sacred geometry takes you back. And that's what Plato, the Greek philosopher, who is at the basis of the Platonic solids like sacred geometry, shapes and forms, said, like, geometry will draw the soul toward truth.
I like that.
And that's powerful, and that's why I love it.
Well, yeah, the way you were describing it there, it just, to me, it just spoke of truth, the way any truth can cut through illusion and bring clarity. That there's no, it's completely unfiltered. It just is. And it's, I really agree with what you've said there in the ways that I've come to the conclusion. I don't feel we're really here to change ourselves, but more gain clarity and see what doesn't belong to us, the layers that we pick up that do filter our sight and illusions and stories and false beliefs. I think that what is the core of us is not there to be changed, really.
Exactly. It's all about remembering who we truly are, and in allowing that to surface, and everything that is not us. And I have to say also, when you work with sacred geometry, stuff can come up. No, it's not always easy peasy. I mean, you work energetically with a certain shape and form, and then everything that is not authentically you, your shadows, might surface as well, and but it might give you, and then it gives you the opportunity to actually face your shadows, feel it, embrace it, and then it can go and be dissolved into love again, who we truly are. And
Yeah, it should never be any healing or remembering work should never be romanticized. It should.
We learnt that, Chris, many times.
It sometimes can be quite gritty, but what awaits on the other side is really wonderful.
exactly. I mean, you're just going through a threshold into another experience, basically.
Yeah, so what I'd really like to ask you about at this point is the symbol actually that I believe you're wearing, and I do have one in my room somewhere, which is, if I'm right, that's Metatron's cube.
Cute.
And I'd
That's right.
love to hear more about that because particularly it's something that I see everywhere and I have done in the past couple of years. And I think a lot of people, when we talk about sacred geometry, most people may mention the flower of life or Metatron's cube as being quite predominant, what we see. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the relevancy of that.
Yes, Metatron's cube is a powerful symbol, and in a way that it's a more like all-encompassing symbol also. I mean, you've got like one central circle, 6 circles in the inner ring, and 6 circles in the outer ring. And then all the lines here are connected so that within it there are certain forms that are contained, shapes and forms. And so there's basically, you find the 5 Platonic solids, like, for example, the cube, but also the tetrahedron in it, and the octahedron, the dodecahedron, icosahedron, but also the Merkaba. And for me, if I tune into it energetically, so I use it either like it can provide a beautiful energetic space for transformation, protection, especially if you focus on the cube, in Metatron's cube, but it can also really connect you to your soul's priorities, to living your calling and living, having clarity about your next steps and your soul's priorities. I mean, these are like energetic qualities that are also very much embodied in Metatron's cube. And then, of course, since it contains so many other symbols, I mean, you can, of course, you have the frequencies and qualities of those symbols that are in it as well. But I usually use it either like as to set up this beautiful transformative energetic space first, or also to tune into my calling, my source priorities, my next steps, and how to share that with the world. But tell me how you use it. I mean, if you're the kind of person.
Well, yeah, it kind of aligns for me because personally for me, I've been drawn to it quite a few times, and we've used it in some of our sound baths as a central point as well in the room, and we'll place crystals on a certain point. We'll have like a cloth with the cube shape on the floor, and then place them at certain areas, and that'll be the central point of the room as well. But I find it very sort of protective, and there does feel a certain directness with it as well. Of that way, yeah.
And also, like, for example, since you've got 13 circles here, it's like, so if 12 aspects come together and then something new can emerge out of the central circle, number 13, and that's for me like the new human being, you know, it's like emerging from the midst of all these 12. Like if you are religious, you could say Jesus emerged, was in the center of the 12 disciples, for example. So it's the number 13, the human being with all his or her innate abilities embodied, that emerges out of the depth.
Well, it's interesting. A couple of things there is when we talk about the awakening and inner work can be described as sort of death and rebirth in many ways. But also, I have heard in the past, I don't know how you feel about this, the connection between a lot of people have connected Metatron and also Jesus together in some ways. Have you heard that before? Have you have any sort of downloads of that or information? Has that ever come to you?
Not in the sense that like they're connected that like there's the same being or so. No, I haven't come across that. What for me, Metatron is a beautiful guide. I connect him more with the Elohim, actually, the Elohim energy, angel frequencies. And he's come to me various times, like, for example, when I do sacred geometry designs as well, then I very often base my designs on at least the basic structure of Metatron's cube. There's 13 circles, and sometimes also with some of the lines and the other shapes and forms that are in it, because I feel it's also like similar to the flower of life. It's a very underlying foundational structure as well. And Metatron has a role to play with sacred geometry for sure. But I did not know, or I haven't perceived any connection directly with Jesus. I can't say that. But it's interesting because the 13 is in the Metatron's cube as well.
Yeah, it's something just I've come across a few times, and I was just curious about. Like you say, it's good to be curious.
Exactly. And there are so many also connections that we are not aware of yet, or that might look different than we think they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sort of as we move forward, is there any sort of relevant shapes, the geometric shapes that you want to share with our listeners that you feel are particularly poignant, particularly in the times that we're living in now?
Yes, I would like to a bit later maybe guide you all, if you like, into a practice so that you get to experience sacred geometry, because that's really a point I want to make as well. It's important not to just think or study sacred geometry. I mean, there are many ways you can work with sacred geometry, but it's really important to have I feel, to have a really an impact, to get its benefits, to experience the frequencies that are inherent in sacred geometry. And so I would like to later guide you into like a practice with a dodecahedron, because it's a very powerful platonic solid. Here's one. It's made out of 12 pentagons, and it really transmits universal love and grace. But before we go into that, I quickly want to mention something about the flower of life.
Yeah, please do.
because I mean, it's been in the center of attention as when we talk about sacred geometry. And I found, well, when I worked with the Flower of Life, and I wrote the chapter about the Flower of Life in my book, that suddenly I had some insights, which I was given some information, which was really interesting, because we mostly know this version of the Flower of Life where you have like two rings around the floral pattern, so the bounded Flower of Life. But I was also shown that the unbounded Flower of Life, where you have no bounds, no rings, where the Flower of Life just goes on and becomes multidimensional and infinite, basically. And also the difference between those two, like I use it like, of course, I mean, in a drawing, you cannot have like an infinite Flower of Life, but here at least in the frame, it goes on and on and on. In the background of my designs. And the difference is like, for me, like the bounded Flower of Life contains divinity in a certain container. Like, for example, our divinity is in our body. I mean, of course, we are much more than our bodies, but it's a kind of like a form where the divinity is within. But if you actually expand that divinity beyond any form, if you just keep expanding and expanding and expanding, you can feel the limitlessness, and that there is enough for everybody, talking about the abundance for everybody. So it's not contained in a certain container anymore. And I feel the unbounded flower's life is becoming more and more important in these times, as we expand our consciousness, as we go beyond our body into our multidimensional and infinite self, and as we also go beyond any limits and boundaries that had been imposed upon us, or that we ourselves have imposed upon us, and we go beyond that. And I think that's really important for these times, to experience the Flower of Life also multidimensional and infinite in that version.
Wow, it's something that I know Chris talked about being drawn to the Metatron's cube there. I've always been very, very drawn to the Flower of Life symbols, and very drawn to, and it's interesting when you get into geometry, you know, that you'll be drawn to certain geometric shapes more than, and that's on a subconscious level. Perhaps your soul is drawn to that. That's what it needs. Exactly. Or what it doesn't need. Do you think that's sort of right, that to say that to the listeners? You know, if people will be drawn to certain geometric shapes more than others, and that's probably for a reason, for the energetic side as well, isn't it?
Exactly, because since they carry certain frequencies, you might be drawn to some frequencies more than others, because that's what you need in that very moment. And for me, like, it has been a really great gift to have been shown all the different frequencies that are contained in all these different shapes and forms, because what I now do is like preparing a meal. All these sacred geometry, shapes and forms are my ingredients, and I concoct like a kind of a meal, and then I come up, like, you know, with drawings that contain many sacred geometry and shapes and forms, and I choose them according to the frequencies they have. Like, this is, for example, the blueprint for love and relationships, and so it contains like dodecahedron, it contains the unbounded Flower of Life, it contains another symbol I came up with, the homo luminous, that we are evolving into. And so it, and I use colors as well, because colors have light codes that support the sacred geometry shape and form codes, and also numbers that are important, that carry certain frequencies as well. And then it comes up like a cocktail. And like, this was for love and relationships. Another one I did like for health and well-being. And so basically, it's depending on what you need, you can then work with certain shapes and forms, because, or like a combination of certain shapes and forms. This is the blueprint for health and well-being. And then because that's what you need at the moment, or that's what you want to explore at the moment. And in the free sacred geometry talk that I've got on my website and my YouTube, I'll guide people into an activation of this blueprint for health and well-being, so that you can experience all those frequencies that are inherent in that drawing, but that are related to health and well-being and vitality.
When you just lifted that piece of paper up, my head went all fuzzy. I felt it straight into my third eye just by looking at it. I was like, wow. I was like, whoa. So again, it's about seeing is believing. It's about experiencing it. So what would you recommend then, just sort of as a starter point of view? Is it meditation, visualization, get some of these symbols printed out, sit with them? I know a lot of people wear jewelry. That's another way, a very powerful way to wear them. Lots of altar cloths and things you can hang on the wall. Do you recommend things like that?
Yes, I mean, there are many ways you can actually work with sacred geometry. I mean, if you can, I mean, it's great that you have even that experience just by looking at it. I mean, it's like, because looking at it is basically the first step. You can look at it and the frequencies go into your subconscious. But if you actually energetically work with it, and we're going to have that experience soon, then it's even much stronger. But it's great that you have the response already by just looking at it. And so you can print it out. I would recommend, like, especially with these drawings, these designs, to print it out in colors, because the colors carry their codes as well. You can energetically, and we're going to do that, step into a sacred geometry shape and form and activate it and ask it to share its frequencies with you. You could invite it into your energy system and activate it as well, and make it move and spin in your energetic system. I use it as screensavers as well, so that I always, when I open my phone, I already have that. You can put your food and your drinks on it. I have it as artwork also on my wall. So there's again this blueprint for health and well-being. And like, for example, if you wanted to start with it, so I mean, there are ways. Of course, there are lots of practices and symbols and drawings in my sacred geometry book. Activate Your Highest Potential with Sacred Geometry. But I also have like designs and short activations on my Instagram page, Sacred Geometry Experience. And on my website, I've made available these blueprints with a short meditation activation, so that you can actually look at them, but also be invited energetically into those frequencies, into those designs, and so they can be purchased from my website.
So you can purchase the actual shapes and get them printed, or how does that work?
Yeah, like, for example, I mean, I have these blueprint series of the blueprint for health and well-being, the blueprint for career and calling with a lot of angst, and for prosperity and abundance, and for love and relationships. And so when you either purchase one of them or like all four of them, you get this sacred geometry design as a download, so you can print it out or use it as a screensaver or use it as artwork. And you get a meditation that comes with it, that actually, it's like 7-minute meditation, so that you can listen to in the mornings or in the evenings, so that guides you into the frequencies that are all contained in each blueprint, and that you can then experience yourself and meditate with and fall asleep with, or yeah, exactly. So it's basically the download of the design plus the download of an audio meditation that comes with each blueprint.
I'll be, after tonight, I'll be downloading and purchasing and printing and get them into frames, Chris. My little gift for you for Christmas, a little gifted abundance, new year, new us.
Yes, thank you. I mean, this is really the practical thing as well. I've got a lot of Christmas gifts. I can just print them out and then put them in a frame and give them to my friends and my family.
What better gift?
So meditation, actually looking at a symbol and feeling it and being in stillness with it is another possibility. And I think I cut out when I wanted to share something personal.
Yeah.
I sometimes put these designs or certain sacred geometry shapes and forms printed out in a plastic sheet, and I put it on my chakras, and I sleep with it at night.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because, our body is composed to 70%, more or less, of water. And the water is informed, my body water in this case, is informed by all these frequencies then. And so these frequencies then enter my body through the water. And so these frequencies then work with me during the night in a very intensive way sometimes. So that's one intensive way of working with sacred geometry.
Yeah, and
I
that's
don't
what
know,
I
I've
like
just-
about all this is the practical side as well, because so many in any areas where people are looking to get involved in or bring a new practice in, sometimes can be overwhelming. And what strikes me about so much of your work is that the practicality of it. There's so much we can do at home or take part in and bring into your life in a way that's really needed for your very highest good. That's quite a straightforward practice.
And it can be really playful as well. I mean, you can, make it fun and play with it and draw things and, have like these symbols up on your walls or wherever. And it's fun as well.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
should
I
always
wouldn't,
be.
I mean, it took me like basically almost 9 years to get the book published before it was ready. And during that time, I just kept going because I really enjoyed it. It was beneficial to me as well, of course.
Yeah, do you think it's a little bit of like your part of your soul purpose in a way to bring these teachings forward?
Yes, I think so. I mean, especially since I had no awareness of sacred geometry before I started downloading the information, and when it then came through in English, and after a while, I thought like I have to buy a sacred geometry book and see if what I'm getting is somewhere validated by somebody else,
Yeah.
And then I found one book about the Platonic solids, and I found, similarities between what I've been receiving as information. I was like, thank God, at least I'm not going crazy.
Oh, we've all been there. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was helpful. I think so. Yeah, it's part of what I've come here for, to share this information, also, especially as you said, like the practical application of it.
I think if you talked about this maybe 10 years ago, this geometry has been around for thousands and thousands of years, but to the ordinary person, I think, particularly the past 5 years, there's a lot more people are awakening or being curious about something that's beyond their physical parameters, beyond their physical three-dimensional perspective. And I think geometry is another one of those tools that I feel that mankind are ready for. Everything's a journey, everything's a stepping stone, and it's the involvement, it's trusting that, as I always see it as the inner lotus flower unfolding. We have to unfold when the collective consciousness is ready. We're unfolding together, and as we unfold, these downloads, these teachings are being revealed to us because we're ready. And there's people like you that are channeling those teachings to give us a gentle nudge to say, come on the bum here. Let's push you on a little, because we're all a bit stubborn, aren't we, humanity?
Yes, exactly. And it's always, it's so interesting. You always go through your own process first before you can actually share it with the world. And it was really beneficial for me in all my transformation. And what I'm writing here, like a practical guide to freedom, authenticity, and fulfillment, that was my own journey that the work with the sacred geometry has led me on. And yeah, and that's really, you know, we get to experience first what we then bring out into the world, and that's beautiful.
It's initiation, isn't it? I always find that any kind of author, teacher, inspirer, or guide will go through some kind of initiation that helps them tap into their inner gift and to that experience, and then that experience is then inspiring other people to say, actually, I'm gonna like this book, you know, that book was brought to my attention, and I went to read that book and I got inspired, and now I'm inspiring 20, 30 people a week with those teachings, and that's how stuff spread, because you've done that inner work, and that's how that initiation into those teachings are then spread to other people, which I think is absolutely amazing.
And it's so funny how life works, you know. It's like, for example, at some stage in 2018, I decided to move to Spain, and I chose southern Spain, near Granada, and I came across, and I always wanted to live here for many reasons, but when I went into the Alhambra Palace and I saw all the sacred geometry there, or the 8-pointed stars, the 16-pointed stars, and all kinds of sacred geometry shapes and forms, I was like, oh, now I know why I moved here. So it's really it's great how life guides you to have the experiences that propel you forward. And yeah, and it's just, if you just follow your heart, and there are lots of practices as well that help you with that, and certain, you asked like what other shapes and forms would you really recommend. I mean, I love the sphere as well, working with a sphere as a symbol of creation, of the nothingness and everything at the same time, and then you can have like insights and visions as well. I liked the sphere for that. And also, I mean, inner wisdom is also Metatron's cube, and clarity especially. And also the dodecahedron, which we're going to experience soon, can help you with that. So there are many, depending on what you really, which phase of your life you're in and what you're really looking for. Many shapes and forms can help you with certain things, or if you combine them, the effect is even stronger. If you combine them with other things like numbers or colors or movement or mudras or sound, then it becomes even more powerful.
Absolutely. I just want to tap in something you said earlier on, and it's something that I think is very much happening in the world, and I just want to hear what your thoughts and your opinion on is, and how you can bring geometry into that in balancing the divine masculine and the feminine, because you you look out in the world how unbalanced. I mean, it's something that I saw through a retreat that we did a couple of months ago, and I was very drawn to the realization about what we call Christ light, or that energetic being very masculine, and how unbalanced the feminine is to the masculine. And when you look at ancient Egypt, you look at the ancient temples, they really understood the importance of the balance of the masculine and the feminine, how the feminine held, you always have the hand holding the male in a lot of the temple depictions. So they understood the importance of the masculine and the feminine. And you look at our society now, how the divine masculine and feminine is so out of balance. So what kind of geometric shape can we use to balance those energies, not just on the individual level, but in the sort of collective as well?
Yeah, so if you want to, if I work with polarities and I want to see where I'm at with both sides of the polarity, then I love using the Vesica Pisces, because these are two circles that intersect, and then see if one circle is bigger than the other, if I tune into the two energies, or how they overlap, and how I can actually then use the vesica piscis to get back into harmony of the two polarities. So that's one sacred geometry you can work with. Sometimes when I want to bring harmony into a field, I use either the dodecahedron or the flower of life to actually induce the harmony in unbalanced situations or unbalanced polarities. And I also want to mention that there are, apart from sacred geometry shapes and forms, there are sacred symbols as well. I've already mentioned the Ankh, the Egyptian Ankh, the key of life. But there's also, like, for example, the yin and yang symbol that shows the two polarities, the masculine and the feminine, and also that the part of one polarity is in the other. And so you can work also with sacred symbols to bring them back, to see where you are with your polarities and to bring them back into harmony and balance again.
So I love that, because you're basically pulling our awareness within ourselves again to say, look, mirror inside of you, look at the polarities inside of you, you know, where is the masculine dominating the feminine? And that's how we're going to, you know, I love that. And it's reminding me again that, you know, don't look just at the external. You know, the world doesn't need rescuing. We're here to sort our own stuff out. Look at yourself. And that's the best we can do, is inspire people to look within, look at your own polarities, look at your own imbalances, look at harmonizing the feminine, the masculine within yourself. Exactly. I think that is a powerful, very powerful message, and a reminder to me anyway.
Thank you, Stephen, for making it so clear, because that's exactly my point. It's always an inside job. It's whatever you see outside in the world is just a projection of what is inside of you. And where you can actually make a difference is inside of you. And that's why I focus on actually bringing back the harmony and balance within me. And that's when more and more people are doing that, we will have that impact also. And we'll see that impact in the outer world.
Absolutely. And I feel that'd be a good point to sort of hand over to what will be the practical part of this podcast, if that's okay with you. So we're going to take a step back for a moment, and it's we're going to hand over for this this practical part of this podcast.
Yes, thank you. So this practical part, I said I would like to guide you into a practice with the dodecahedron. But before I do that, I would really love to show you the 0 point, because I do every practice by going into the 0 point. And what is the 0 point? For me, so first of all, physically, for me, it's located here in the middle of your heart chakra, in the middle of your chest. And it's really your access point to your soul, or if you are more metaphysical, to the quantum field, to all that is, and also to neutrality, so where you balance the polarities. And so how do you experience your 0 point? So I'm going to show you like 3 or 4 like quick steps how you can actually experience your 0 point. So one thing is, what always helps is your breath. You just breathe into the 0 point in the middle of your heart chakra. And you focus on it, because where attention goes, energy flows. So basically, if you focus on your 0 point, your attention goes there and the energy flows into it. So now I focus on the 0 point and I breathe into it. And you could also set the intention to make it even stronger. So you say or you think, I set the intention to go into my 0 point. You focus on it, you breathe into it. And if you are still a bit stuck in your mind and your thoughts, what can help is, like, if you're in your mind with your awareness, you just imagine, and go with me if you want to, imagine going down a golden spiral staircase from your mind into your heart. And you really land in the middle of your heart chakra, in the middle of your chest, in the 0 point. And again, you take a few deep breaths into your 0 point. And you focus on it. You set an intention to go into your 0 point and stay there. I set an intention to go into my 0 point and to stay there. And you focus on it and you breathe into it. So this is a very first step. You can do it in less than a minute. And I don't know what you experienced, Chris or Stephen, if it returned you to some kind of calm or neutrality.
Very centered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what worked particularly well for me was visualizing the spiral staircase.
Mm-hmm.
That really worked well for me and took me right there. It really did. And yeah, into a real calming space.
Great. And this is something you can do whenever you're a bit out of balance. We just talked about balance, out of balance, or your mind scatters, and it just takes you back to your center, to your soul in an instant, anywhere you are. And I love to start my practices with going into the 0 point, because that makes sure that you're out of your mind and you're really focused on what you are going to experience. And so I just wanted to show you that before, because I will just lead into my practice by going into the 0 point. And again, let me just show you the dodecahedron. I mean, you don't need to know what it looks like, but it might help some of you. So it's this form which consists of 12 pentagons. It's called dodecahedron. Dodeca in Greek means 12. In the book, I think I have a golden version of it as well, because I will go into a golden dodecahedron. So that's a golden one. And I'll be talking about vortex as well. Vortex is, if you don't know, it's like if something spirals very fast around itself, it creates kind of an energetic, a centrifugal force. And so it's more powerful than just a static sacred geometry shape or form. So I love working with vortices, like our chakras are vortices as well, because the energy then moves faster and quicker, and that can help you even more to experience the frequencies. So that's just as an introduction. And so the dodecahedron in general is really helpful to open your heart and to help you go from your mind to your heart. It facilitates also connection to higher realms, to consciousness, and communication with all forms of life. And it helps you expand your consciousness. And what we are going to focus on just now is that it brings in universal love and grace. So it's the 5th platonic solid related to the element of ether. And it's my favorite one, basically, because of that. So, okay, let's start. So first of all, I would like to invite you again to go into your 0 point, like we just did, in the middle of your heart chakra. So you might want to visualize again a golden spiral staircase, and you are going on that staircase from your mind to your heart. Set an intention to focus on your 0 point, to be in your 0 point, and breathe into it. And you might want to close your eyes if you have not already done so. Now imagine that you can see, sense, or feel a huge golden dodecahedron in front of you. One large enough for you to step into. And now you, just by intention, you step into the center of the golden dodecahedron and you relax into its golden frequencies. So we set the intention to step into the center of the huge golden dodecahedron and we relax into its frequencies. Now ask the dodecahedron to activate itself and to rotate within, around and through you with the intention of sharing its energies of grace and universal love with you. So we ask the dodecahedron to activate itself and to rotate within, around and through us with the intention of sharing its frequencies of grace and universal love with us. Breathe deeply and bask in the energies that you are sensing. And ask yourself, do I feel peace? Do I feel an expansion in my heart chakra? Or what do I notice? And then let's take it one step further. So again, we are deeply connected to our 0 point, focusing on it, breathing into it. And now we invite a dodecahedron vortex into our bodies and energy systems. So we invite a golden dodecahedron vortex into our energy system and into our bodies. Now we ask it to activate itself and to rotate and move within, around and through us with the intention of sharing its energies of universal love and grace with us. So again, we ask the golden dodecahedron vortex to activate itself and to rotate and spin and move within, around and through us with the intention of sharing its energies of grace and universal love with us. And see, sense, or feel how this dodecahedron vortex goes into every cell of your body, how it goes into your organs, how it goes into the whole physical body, how it brings in the energies of universal love and grace also into your emotional body, into your mental body, into your energetic body, into your aura, and how it shares and expresses all these golden frequencies of universal love and grace like a fountain, like a well, a never-ending well of golden frequencies of universal love and grace. While you're basking in the energies and the gifts of the golden dodecahedron vortex, it spins faster and faster, and it takes the golden frequencies of universal love and grace everywhere in your body, in your mental, emotional, physical, energetic body, into your aura. And now tune in. How can you express your love today? How can you share your love with the world? Now I invite you to take a few deep breaths to ground your experience, to integrate your experience. Whenever you're ready, you can come back into this space, into your body. into the room that you're in and slowly open your eyes. What did you experience?
Wow, amazing. It amplified areas in my body where attention was required and mine went straight to the throat. But I felt stillness, but also felt being at service, sharing my gift is how I'm going to unfold my compassion. That's what I felt. I was like, oh, just get me my pillow and my blanket nice and relax. It was powerful but subtle at the same time. It was a really weird, particularly with the gold as well. I found the gold energy really powerful with that as well. Really solid, like really like stepping into your I am power, like being know who you are kind of energy. That's what I felt. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, it was quite incredible, really. As the moment we sort of stepped into it, I felt tremendously secure and safe in that space, and I could actually feel the tingling around my whole body, like sensing the energy, like walking into energy. And then for me, from that really calming, secure space, when it sort of entered my body, then going to the areas of my body that didn't need that attention, but feeling very secure to do so as well. Like, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I mean, and it's interesting. It really can work on many levels. So it can be like basically bring up where you are not in tune with the universal love and grace. So like something that's blocking you from experiencing it, or wounds. It can give you that experience of love, safety, bliss, everything. Or it can also share inner wisdom or support you in sharing your gifts with you. So, I mean, it's like there are different levels. I'm just saying that because people might have different experiences, and so that you know that it can also bring up stuff, but it can also let you into revelations. It can let you into feeling that you are love, the I am presence, feeling that universal love coming to you and going to where it needs to go. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry. I was wait. I thought Chris was talking there. I'm just in another. I'm in another realm at the moment. I'm just
You've
in that energy.
transported us.
You know what? You know what I was really seeing then, which is really odd. I just saw this pink energy coming around Sabine, just that pink energy. And then with Chris, it was like a green energy. It was like this green energy. Is that like normal? Do you like, I keep seeing colors. It's really weird. I keep seeing really vibrant colors.
That's great because I mean, colors are like similar to shapes and forms. They carry their light codes in this case. And so green and pink are the two colors associated with the heart chakra. So
Right.
the pink is more the compassion with others and or for others, and the green is more the healing color. And it's really interesting that you see that because dodecahedron is very much about the heart, the heart chakra, and being the love that you are, and of course experiencing also universal love, and I would like also talk a little bit about the importance of self-love in this time.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you saw pink because I mean this blueprint for love and relationships carries a lot of pink, the compassionate color, and it's similar like to what you said, like with what you discussed in the shadow work podcast. It's really facing what's inside of you instead of projecting it out. No, so like for example, if you don't make it about the other person. I mean, if there is still something in you, like if there's self-hatred, self-criticism, turn and face it, feel it, experience it, and sacred geometry can help you to bring that out. And then if you go through that experience, you land on the other side of self-love and self-acceptance. And that's really so important, because you cannot give to another person what you don't have inside of you. And you cannot love another person really unless you truly love yourself, and if you're aware that you are love. And so that's why it's really, you know, a lot of people in the world make it about the other, about either like the projected on certain ethnic groups or religious groups, or, you know, that's why we have all the wars, or even like the conflicts between two people. But it's really when you turn inside and face it and bring out and feel whatever is left there of self-hatred, of feeling of powerlessness, of whatever, and have the courage to embrace it and integrate it and feel it, then you can actually move into that self-love, and then you can love the world, and then you can share it with the world. And I just wanted to mention that, because like with this blueprint, for example, when I say it's a blueprint for love and relationships, people think it might help you to attract your ideal partner, but the ideal partner is within you. It's like,
Yeah.
it's first the self-love that you want to feel and be able to access, and the I am presence, the love that you are. And yeah, and sacred geometry, since it transforms everything that's not authentically you, can help you with that.
I think that's a beautiful message to share in the times we're in now, because so many people, I know I can understand that one part of my journey, we're seeking everything outside of us when it's all inside. It's all just sat there waiting to be rediscovered, to be remembered. Even the judgment that we hold ourselves to and such, and just releasing that, and just to be, it's, to me, it's almost like the key to life.
Exactly.
It unlocking that. And what I like so much about your journey is as well, that in the time when, of course, not to dismiss anything academic, but in a time that so much weight is placed on, well, if you don't have certain academic qualifications, how can you speak on this? Well, we're channeling it so purely, and it's amazing that people like yourselves are trusting and doing that work, and also combining that with your knowledge. And I think it's a good example to everyone out there. And like you said earlier in your story, you've had those confirmations, which I feel come along. That's alignment in any. So myself and Stephen have had it where a certain name will come up or something, and we'll just see that name on a street sign or in a book on the television. It'll just come up and up and up so many times, just as that confirmation. And I feel that's a huge inspiration to anybody listening who may be in the beginnings of receiving information and feel, well, maybe I'm not qualified to speak on this, but they are 100%.
Yes, and it's really like, you know, we are going beyond the internet, and we are going to the universal web. You know, we are multidimensional beings, and we tune in multidimensionally as well, and bring through those codes and those pieces of information, and everybody has access to it. And even like going into your 0 point can help you connect to all the other realms as well. No? And yeah, so I completely agree with what you just shared, Chris. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sabina, for your time that you shared with us. So much information in this time that I'm sure many people find very interesting, very relevant, and that word that's been mentioned a few times, very practical, something we can do and take part in. And I certainly strongly encourage you, if you feel drawn to check out Sabina's website, and also a book as well, which we'll put links to. If you're watching this, or if you are listening to it, wherever you are, it will be there. And I'm quite sure that we will be speaking again, because there's much more to speak on this subject. But for now, it's been an absolutely wonderful episode and a privilege to share this time with you.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much, Stephen. I really enjoyed our time together as well. And yeah, please check out my website, and there's lots of information for free as well, and you can if you feel guided to get the blueprints, or you can do one-on-one coaching with me. I'm a certified coach as well. And so, I mean, there's a lot of information also about sacred geometry, and you will find the designs as well on Instagram or Facebook pages of mine. And the website is just my name. It's www.sabinekruse or sabinekruse.com, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah, and the book is available as ebook or as a print copy in English, Spanish, on Amazon and through bookstores. Via Ingram Spark, it can be ordered. So yeah, so if I can be of any service, just let me know. Just contact me, or if you and there's something, if I may mention, that I feel guided to do group coachings, webinars from next year onwards, like where we will actually look at certain inequalities that we need for the new time we are moving into, supported by frequencies and designs of sacred geometry. So I haven't put it up yet on the website. It's still being birthed, but it will be up on my website and Facebook and Instagram. And also, if you subscribe to the newsletter, then you will also get the information once it's going to be birthed.
Sounds absolutely incredible and amazing. Thank you so much once again for sharing your time with us and all that wonderful information and knowledge that you've channeled and shared with us in your book. And just thank you to everybody who's listened and supports this podcast. Please click and subscribe, and we'll do our very best to keep some wonderful content like we spoke about in this episode coming for many more episodes along. So thank you so much, everyone. Until we speak again, we're going to say goodbye for now.
Yes, thank you to everybody in the audience. Thank you for being interested in all this, and thank you to both of you for doing such a wonderful podcast. I mean, it's what we need for collective awakening. I mean,
absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone.